I am Dr. Corné Mulder. I'm the leader of the Freedom Front Plus in South Africa. We had the opportunity during this week to visit Washington, and we saw a number of influential people at the Senate, at Congress, in the White House, different institutes, as well as the State Department. In all these discussions, each and every one of them, the question and the issues and the challenges with regard to what happened in Zimbabwe and what still needs to be done was brought also to the attention of the people that we spoke. Dr. Theo de Jager from SAAI did use his opportunity in each and every instance to bring those things to the table. It was clear, however, that Zimbabwe was not necessarily on the foremost mind of the people that we saw, but after our information was given, they all took it rather seriously. They made notes, and they were surprised to hear the expertise, knowledge that came from Dr. de Jager dealing with these issues. I'm convinced that this kind of awareness should be continued, and that hopefully we can put some more pressure on to get also the Zimbabwe issues resolved.
So we are at the end of a very successful week in Washington. A delegation of Afrikaner leaders visited Washington. I put the visit together. I worked for C5 Capital, which is a venture capital firm. But I'm an Afrikaner. The founder of our company is also an Afrikaner, and we're facilitating on behalf of the Afrikaner community, but also other minority groups, to position and get the message across in the United States about what's going on in South Africa and in Southern Africa. With regard to Zimbabwe, we were able to communicate to a variety of organizations, including the State Department, the White House. We had meetings with several think tanks. We had meetings in Congress with various congressmen and also senators, that Zimbabwe is ready for change, but that a normalization of relations between Zimbabwe and the United States government is predicated on some preconditions, of which the full compensation of farmers that were affected by farm invasions in the early 2000s should be a precondition for the normalization of relations. We have received a lot of support in official circles, and the U.S. government will also seek our guidance on an approach with regard to Zimbabwe. I can say that there is a momentum in Washington that a normalization of relations with Zimbabwe is needed. The United States is changing its position. Minerals are becoming important. Zimbabwe has got a lot of rare minerals and rare earths. So we are at an inflection point, for sure, with the Trump administration that can fundamentally change the relationships. But we are receiving a very positive ear that it is predicated on the support of farmers. I want to thank Theo de Jager, who has been very instrumental in putting the case of the farming community in Zimbabwe to these officials, and we met very high-level officials, and we are very confident that we are going to have a good outcome of our agenda in Washington.
Good day. I had the opportunity to visit Washington for 10 days last week, and along with Dr. Corné Mulder, the leader of the Freedom Front Plus, one of the political parties in the Government of National Unity in South Africa, and also with Gerhard Papenfus, the Chief Executive Officer of the National Employers Association of South Africa. During this visit, I had the opportunity to present the case of Zimbabwe, and very specifically the normalization of Zimbabwean society and compensation for farmers who lost their land in the fast-track land reform program, and also those who lost land during the Guguriundi massacres. At 14 occasions. There were 14 meetings in which I had an opportunity to discuss Zimbabwe. These opportunities were in the offices of various congressmen, representatives, and of course members of the Senate. Like, for example, Troy Niels from Texas. We were in the offices of Ted Cruz Johnson, who's writing the new law on South Africa. We also engage with 3 think tanks. Those are structures who inform and influence policies which are close to the Trump administration, such as the Hudson Institute, the America First Policy Initiative, and the Cato Institute. We also met with the 2 national farmers organizations, National Farmers Union and the Farm Bureau. We also had meetings with the Department of State, the Africa desk, the SADC desk, the officials working on Zimbabwe and on South Africa. And in the White House, we met with senior people, the Director of Homeland Security, the Director of State Security, and the Chief Policy Advisor of Vice President J.D. Vance. In this meeting in the White House, after we've put our case, originally the South African case, and then I specifically asked for an opportunity to address the farmers' case in Zimbabwe. They said, we've heard you, now you must hear us. We get the impression, they said, that the message to South Africa is not getting to the people of South Africa. Not via your embassy here in Washington, and also not via the official delegations who we met in the Oval Office. They said, so we want you guys to convey this message. And the message is very simple. The normalization of relations between South Africa and the USA, including trade relations, can only get back to normal when these 4 conditions are met. And the conditions are: make farm safety, farm attacks, farm murders a priority crime, and have it investigated by the Hawks, not merely by the detectives at the local police station. They want the ANC as a political party to distance itself from kill the farmer, kill the Boer. They want they want assurances that when the state expropriates property, that it will be at market-related compensations as determined by a court of law after due process, not before the court had the final say. And also they want all American enterprises to be exempted from BEE as they regard black economic empowerment as non-tariff barriers to trade. And then, as an extension of this specific discussions where they have set the conditions, they turned to me and they said, they have passed an executive order which was signed by President Trump and have set these conditions in an effort to avoid South Africa getting on the same trajectory as Zimbabwe. While we were discussing this, Vice President J.D. Vance called and asked for the Zimbabwean file to be put on his desk. So the Chief Policy Advisor, Ben Leroy, he then asked for a document from our side, which I will refer to again a little later. Then they made it very clear, not only in the White House, this message was also the one we got from the Department of State and from the think tanks that Zimbabwe is not very high on the radar of the USA. I did refer to opportunities in Zimbabwe. I did say when things are normalized, there are wonderful investment opportunities. For example, in rare earth minerals. But they were quite blunt about it. They said they do have access to all the rare earth minerals and other minerals they need. They're not going to sell a principle for the sake of access to any minerals from Zimbabwe. They need nothing from Zimbabwe now. They said, and I made a note of it, we would rather stick to a principle. We would rather be key to the restoration of Zimbabwe's economy and have a more inclusive society and ensure that the rule of law prevail and that there is a free press than lifting Zadira to get access to minerals. This is the message. They said there's no easy way out of Zadira. The way out of Zadira is to meet the conditions as stated in Zadira, and that is the only way. They say Zadira will not be reviewed now. Conditions for the normalization is as simple as start with just and equitable compensation of the farmers. I must say that we did pick up a rumor on more than one occasion that there is a drive, it's not a decision yet, but there is a drive within the Trump administration to kind of make an exception and support some room created in the International Monetary Fund to give Zimbabwe access to a soft loan on the sole condition that that loan is used to pay the farmers. And it must go directly to the farmers, they said. But the status of this, I could not confirm. I did pick it up at more than one meeting. And then on the issue of exactly how high is this bar? What is just and equitable compensation? What must happen for the conditions in Zadira to be considered to have been met? And so the answer was, when the farmers are satisfied. Back to the request of Mr. Leroy from the office of J.D. Vance. He asked for a document from the farmers. He asked, give me a 2-pager on how you feel the United States of America can assist the Zimbabwean farmers to get to that place. Hence, I have requested the leadership in SAAI and our partners in the CSC, CFU and SACFA to assist me with that document, and the document has been cleared out at CSC and it landed on Mr. Leroy's desk this morning.
Good morning, I'm Gerhard Papenfus. I'm talking to you from Washington. I'm part of a delegation of Afrikaner senior leaders that had in the past few days discussions with very high officials in Washington, in the White House, Department of State, and various other places. With me on this visit is Mr. Theo de Jager. Well, I can go into detail, but I'm not going to do that. But what I can testify to is that Mr. de Jager in each and every meeting made the case of the farmers of Zimbabwe. And I just appreciated the way he did that with passion. And what I realized is that although as we entered these meetings, the matter wasn't perhaps that high on the agenda of America's officials. But if it wasn't when we got here, it is now. I want to express my thanks to Mr. de Jager on your behalf. And I can encourage you that this message was carried into each and every meeting. And with you, we look forward to positive results. I thank you.
I'm Theo de Jager and I'm the CEO of the Freedom Front Plus in South Africa. I was part of the delegation that visited Washington, D.C., where the issue of Zimbabwe was also brought to the attention of those we met with. It was very clear that SAAI represented and communicated the situation currently in Zimbabwe clearly to those officials we met with. But it became evident that Zimbabwe is not high on the agenda of the Americans at this stage. However, they did take note, and it was good that SAAI represented the farmers from Zimbabwe and put the case of Zimbabwe to the American administration. It is also very clear that the administration is waiting for a change in the SADC leadership before any further actions might be taken.